Hi, I'm Shane Jones. Making headlines tonight. Police achieving success with recent crime prevention efforts. A tourism stalwart laid to rest. Local manufacturers working on maintaining high health and safety standards in the workplace. And in sports, more tributes for cricket legend Seymour Nurse.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC News Night, starting now.
Leading the news at 7, the Royal Barbados Police Force is tonight reporting some success in its effort to crack down on crime. Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith has been speaking about some of the force's achievements at a passing out and parade and graduation ceremony for new recruits. Commissioner Griffith says dealing with the crime situation has been an energy-sapping experience for the Royal Barbados Police Force. However, he says recent preventative and investigative strategies have delivered positive results.
We have been able to speedily solve many of these heinous crimes and to foil a number of efforts directed at the execution of individuals, the latter being a new and difficult phenomenon now being seen. For this, I wish to publicly thank the men and women of the force for their commitment to service and the tremendous sacrifices that they made.
The police commissioner says even though new plans are getting results, the Royal Barbados Police Force cannot rest on its laurels.
We must continue with our collective resolve, as this problem is deep-seated. I find it necessary to remind all that crime presents itself to law enforcement as a manifestation of a deeper underlying problem, hence the need for a multifaceted and multidimensional approach to tackling the same.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Dale Marshall is stressing that law and order is an issue for the entire country to address, and not just the police force. He says very shortly, Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley will be reconvening a meeting of all heads of the social services on island to discuss the issue of crime,
so that they can come back to the National Security Council and give us their report with recommendations as to how, through their initiatives, we will be able to stem the violence that is so rampant on our streets. This is the beginning of a recognition that the matter of law and order is not something for the police alone. The matter of maintaining law and order has to start within the bosom of our communities, and we have to get back to first principles.
Well, there are currently 1,528 officers in the Royal Barbados Police Force with approximately 280 vacancies. The Attorney General is concerned about the failure to attract enough suitable candidates to serve as police officers, especially in the face of an increase of violent crimes.
We have asked the Commissioner to increase the marketing of the force so that young men and women all across Barbados will once again see policing as a viable option as a career. We certainly consider it to be and have devoted the necessary resources to achieve that end.
And in more news about the police force, Dale Wilkinson is the toast of the organization. One of the newest constables on the island, the 21-year-old performed outstandingly as a recruit and was handsomely rewarded during the 143rd Passing Out Parade and graduation ceremony at the Regional Police Training Center. Wilkinson beat out her 18 colleagues to secure 8 of the 11 awards. She was the best female at physical training, the best at multidiscipline subjects, top of the class in officer safety and first aid, as well as police duty subjects. She emerged as the student with the highest aggregate and the most outstanding student. Wilkinson also received the Commandant's Trophy and the Baton of Honor for the best recruit. During his report, Commandant John Maxwell said the academic training was just as demanding as the physical training.
Subjects such as psychology, sociology of crime, police duties, offenses against the person, offenses against property, road policing, first aid, swimming and life saving, weapons training, which is very key, weapons training, human rights, constitutional law, and ethics.
Police Commissioner Tyrone Griffith warned the new cops that they would be exposed to public scrutiny.
Once you have the courage, you will always conduct yourself professionally. and exercise good ethical conduct. Corruption must be resisted at all costs. Remember, everyone with a mobile phone, as alluded to by the Commandant, is a potential reporter. We live in an electronic age where everyone possesses devices capable of recording and sending messages in seconds across the world. It is for that reason that you must always be of your best behavior.
Attorney General Dale Marshall received the salute and urged the 19 to keep in mind that they must form great relationships with the citizens of Barbados.
The first interaction that a member of the public has with a member of the Royal Barbados Police Force will color their judgment for the rest of their lives as to the quality and talent that the force has in its ranks.
The recruits also put on a show for those gathered with their precision drill display to some of last year's top soca songs. One of Barbados' tourism stalwarts has been laid to rest. Gloria Nihal, better known as Pat Nihal, was the first female director of the Barbados Tourist Board. She was buried at Westbury Cemetery after a service at the James Street Methodist Church earlier today. Rianne Phillips has more.
Of mourners packed the James Street Methodist Church to pay their final respects to tourism veteran Pat Nihal. Among them, Prime Minister Mia Amor Motley, Information Minister Senator Lucille Moore, and several officials. Eulogist Carol Cadogan-Fox shared many aspects of the tourism icon's career, which spanned several decades.
Pat handled her role with aplomb, dignity, and of course integrity, as she dispensed what little funds were available at the time. Her title in time to come as Grand Dame of Tourism in Barbados cannot be taken lightly. She served us well. Pat played a major role in improving the quality of food service in Barbados. She brought the first consultant, Mr. Vine, from England, to vet our offerings and recommend training, etc.
She also spoke of Miss Nihal's love for people.
Pat herself held a host of wonderful parties at her home, starting in Rendezvous Gardens and then at her Sandy Lane Estates home. Guests came from all over the globe to be in Barbados to experience her unbeatable hospitality during the Christmas season. My last memory of Pat was her love of the highest spike heel shoes available. We spent 3 days in New York on one of her holidays with me, searching out the ideal shoes to complement her wardrobe.
Bishop Derek Richards reminded those gathered to be inspired by Miss Nihal's contributions and seek to complete their earthly purpose.
I am therefore challenging us to live in such a way that we do not leave behind an unfinished task. So understand the purpose for which God has called you and saved you and brought you into this world, and live out that purpose so that at the end of your life you would not have any regrets.
Ms. Nihal was awarded the Barbados Service Star for her contribution to tourism. Rianne Phillips, CBC News.
The Barbados Defense Force has adjourned the court-martial convened yesterday on what it has described as a serious offense. The court-martial, in which Ordinary Seaman Terrell Gibson is charged with committing a civil offense, will resume on June 11th. Now, a statement from the BDF notes that OS Gibson is accused of wrongfully communicating information contrary to the sections of the Official Secrecy Act. It says a second court-martial will begin on May 27th. The name of the accused in the matter has not yet been revealed, but the person is charged with 2 counts of communicating with the enemy, 1 count of conduct to the prejudice of good order and military discipline, and 1 count of neglect to the prejudice of good order and military discipline. Now, members of the traveling public should be experiencing smoother rides in several sections of the island in the coming months. Lisa Lord joins us live now for that update. Hi, Lisa. I understand that this is all part of government's multi-million-dollar road repair program.
And that's right, Jane. Good evening to you. Now, you might remember this project was announced by Minister of Transport Works and Maintenance, Dr. William Duguid, during a ceremony by the traffic lights in Wanstead back in October last year. Now, while no deadline date was given, we are past the 6 months mark, so we decided to follow up the progress of these roadworks. Officials in the Ministry of Transport Works and Maintenance have declined to comment, but a source close to the project provided us with an update. This section of road at the bottom of University Hill is the latest to be targeted. The program, which began last October, involves milling and paving of 5 roads and is funded by a $50 million loan from the Inter-American Development Bank. This leg of the project will span from the Frank Worrell roundabout to the traffic lights on Hines Hill. The section from the lights to West Road has already been completed. In an attempt to minimize disruptions, work will be done between 7 in the evening and 6 in the morning every day. The project also included roadworks on the section of highway between the Clyde Walcott and Norman Niles roundabout. This was not without its challenges, as traffic had initially been restricted to one side of the highway, which resulted in major traffic jams. That plan was eventually abandoned and work was completed at night. Now, Shane, some other sections of road to be done are from Checker Hall, St. Lucie to All Saints, St. Peter, then All Saints to Farley Hill, and finally Farley Hill to Shorey Village in St. Andrew. And these are all in various stages of completion, so smooth roads are coming. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Wonderful. Well, Barbados' categorization as a more developed country has led to it losing out of support from the Skills to Access the Green Economy, or SAGE project in the Caribbean. Senior Technical Consultant Linda Cook says the SAGE project is focused on the continued development of technical and vocational education and training in key economic sectors associated with climate change. CARICOM countries benefiting include Belize, Dominica, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, and St. Lucia. The Colleges and Institutes Canada, the agency responsible for implementation, has organized a validation workshop at the Courtyard Marriott.
We've brought together individuals from 6 countries that this project is going to be working with to help us make sure that the design of a new program that's funded by the Canadian government will meet their needs. And that program is focused on helping countries implement their climate change plans, because one of the things that has emerged is that there are sometimes gaps in the skill sets required to implement some of those climate change adaptation or mitigation plans. And we would hope to work with these countries to help build programming and skills training that will help fill those gaps.
Ms. Cook says new skill sets are needed to develop the green economy.
So, for example, you might have plumbers who are certified as plumbers here in Barbados, but now there are new requirements for wastewater management, and there might be some new skills that are required that aren't the same as your old practices to make sure that the water is better cared for. Or you might have been trained as an electrician and certified, but now there's a whole host of renewable energy technologies that you have to connect to the grid, and you might need some new technical skills in those areas. Similarly, it might be agriculture, and with the climate changing now, you don't know when to plant your crops. So you may need to use some new technologies like weather mapping or some sort of new greenhouses or hydroponics, and there seem to be not enough persons who are skilled in some of those new areas.
This is a pretty cool story. St. Stephen's Primary has taken a giant stride towards embracing and using technology as a teaching tool. It has developed a virtual reality classroom aimed at providing students with new learning experiences. Principal Colin Cumberbatch says his staff has realized many children are not exposed to experiences which are vital to their development. He says apart from the 8 VR units, there is also a 360-degree camera which will help engage the students more efficiently.
When we ask children here to write about a day at the beach, it is going to the beach, going to the sea, having a bath, come back out, eat, go back in the sea, have a bath, come back out, go home. And we all know that there are myriad things that you can do when you go to the beach. So this camera will allow us to create, even if it is a staged creation, the different things that you can do at the beach, and we can record it. So we can have children swimming, children playing cricket, children playing football, children looking for shells, people jet skiing, and we can show all these things in the virtual reality unit.
Parliamentary representative for the area, Neil Rowe, says the move is a progressive one.
This is all part of helping reform the educational system and the learning environment for children. And I really applaud him for actually taking and making first step, in going about embracing technology to help make learning for the children at St. Stephen's School more enjoyable. And I hope that the rest of the schools, will follow in the same footsteps.
In Guyana, oral arguments in the case challenging the appointment of the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission have been heard in the Caribbean Court of Justice. The appeal was brought by Zulfikar Mustafa, who alleges the president failed to properly exercise his discretion in the appointment of Justice James Patterson. NCN News Guyana reports.
Lawyers representing the interests of the appellant, Zulfikar Mustafa, argued that the president should have given reasons for rejecting the 18 persons on the list submitted by opposition leader Bart Jagdeo. Letters were also shown that neither the president nor Jagdeo indicated that consultations should occur prior to the selection. The issue of eligibility was discussed extensively, even as some of the resumes of those nominated were reviewed. Senior counsel Douglas Mendes stressed that the appointment of Justice Patterson was unconstitutional.
So that at the end of the day, we have the appointment of a chairman, leader of the opposition, having put forward 18 names of persons who are not obviously unacceptable. Not obviously. The president thinks so, but he hasn't told anybody why he thought so in relation to any of the 18 names. That cannot be, with respect, the consensual process that Article 161(2) envisages.
Meanwhile, attorneys representing Attorney General Basil Williams argued that President Granger was in his right to use the proviso and selected as he see fit. The attorneys Hal Gallup and Ralph Thorne reasoned that he had no need to provide a reason since intelligence on the nominees may have come into his domain.
Trinidad and Tobago's Police Commissioner Gary Griffith says his officers did not draw first blood during an exchange of gunfire last Friday. In the end, a 14-year-old girl and 2 others were shot dead. We have a report from CNC3 TV.
There still remains a number of questions about what took place in Big Yard Carnage last Friday. However, these illustrations show the direction in which police's preliminary investigation is heading. Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith explained his officers were fired upon from a northerly direction. The officers who were in an unmarked car returned fire in that direction. The preliminary investigation showed the 14-year-old was behind the officers when she was shot, leading the commissioner to conclude that she was killed by an alleged gang member's bullet. With these facts presented, Commissioner Griffith now calls on the public to give its take on the matter.
We did not draw first blood. Look at where the police vehicle was. Point again, please. The police vehicle. Where would he have fired? Up north, towards the X on top. The X on top is who they shot at. The X on top. Point at the X on top again, please. They fired towards the police vehicle. What is behind the police vehicle? The young lady.
The top cop said he's concerned about the protests in the area following the incident. He said many gang-related shootings occurred and no one protested. He said even though the officers were attacked because they entered Carnage in an unmarked car, they will not deter the service from going undercover. In fact, he said more unmarked vehicles will be added to the fleet.
Officials in Belize say a gas leak was responsible for the explosion of a water taxi that claimed the lives of 2 children over the weekend. Over 10 others were injured. We have a report from Channel 5 Belize.
Cell phone videos captured a state of panic inside the terminal minutes after the blast. Firefighters along with medical personnel and police responded. The blast site was cordoned off and the bridge was closed to traffic. Attempts to resuscitate the 2 girls were unsuccessful. 8-year-old Kimberly Melissa Guy and 10-year-old Jamiri Jasmine Guy died as a result of the blast. Both girls were at the back of the water jet boat with their mother, 27-year-old Rosali Catch, and her boyfriend, 32-year-old Jaime Jimmy Tiriano, preparing to leave the city en route to Kikaka, where Tiriano works as a baker. Originally from Shaive village, the girls and their mother had recently moved to Kikaka, where the girls began attending school. According to reports, the explosion happened after the boat captain was reportedly cranking up the engine.
What police gathered is that the water taxi was about to depart from Belize City en route to Kikaka and San Pedro, when one of the engine was being started, when the captain heard a loud explosion resulting of some of the passengers that were sitting right underneath where the explosion occurred, for them to be flown away from their location. And due to the extent of the blast, other persons received injuries to their bodies